Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys in this reloading chat about appendix carry, something that I see that's gaining in popularity again, and mainly because I've met several people in real life who do it. And for those who are not familiar with what it is, let's do a little safety check. Or I even demonstrate this. Yeah, I'm locking it back, I'm not just racking it. I'm visually inspecting that before I even dare do this. And I'm going to discharge the action. For the guys have the firearm pointed at their junk in the front, right? They're wearing it right in front of their tummy in a holster pointed at their junk. Now, for me, this has never been something I've even been tempted to do. And the reason I'm not ever tempted to do it, we can get into discussions about the femoral artery, all that. I met somebody before I was an adult. When I was in high school, I met someone who had shot themselves in the dick doing this. So that being said, one of my friends in high school, his dad, out in the desert in New Mexico, because I spent a few years in New Mexico before I came back to Texas, had been out in the desert plinking and was wearing his gun in the front, appendix carry, at some point during their various shooting session out there in the desert. And fortunately for him, it was 9mm ball ammo. It was an FMJ out of his Beretta. So you've even got an external safety. He had a negligent discharge somehow that discharged it, and it put a hole through his penis. Now, fortunately for him, they were able to get it working correctly. A couple surgeries, he was good to go. Passed clean through it. Just had a nice Prince Albert, a nice scar on it. But they were able to repair the damage, and he was able to be fully functional as a man again. But that stuck with me. And so now when I see it coming around popular again, and I see guys in the tactical community doing it, I'm really shocked. Like, my mindset with that, and this is just my opinion, you know, you guys are free to have whatever opinion you want. I'm not a tactical instructor. I'm not even promoting this as an instructor. But I really have to question anyone who will let a tactical instructor convince them to wear a handgun that's locked and cocked. Even, yeah, pardon the pun there, locked and cocked. Even if it's got safety on or anything else, wearing it pointed at their junk all day. You couldn't convince me to do this. I don't care what sort of tactical advantage you think that you have. I can shave a half a second off my draw time. Well, I don't think it can, but you know, whatever this instructor has convinced you is the reason. You are essentially flagging yourself in multiple vital areas. One life-threatening, one that might make you wish that your life was over, the entire time you're wearing it. Yes, I understand that modern firearms have come a long way. I understand that the best safety is in your brain. All right, we all agree on that. All right, that's one reason I'm fine with Glocks. But you know what? Using your brain also means not pointing a gun at your junk. I mean, let's be realistic here. When we say that safety is up here, that's true. But part of that should be that, you know, maybe I don't want a loaded firearm pointed at my manhood. Because you know what? Holster malfunctions happen. They do happen. They're not common, but they happen. They happen. You know, something gets caught in your holster, maybe the heat or something else causes the holster to shift, and sometimes it gets inside the trigger guard, part of the holster does, like whether it's plastic melting, leather moving. I've seen people who've had negligent discharges in a leather holster because the leather had warped in over time and eventually pushed up against the trigger at some point, and they had a nice little wound down the side of their leg that fortunately wasn't serious. There have been cases of that. I've seen at least one. You know, the guy had to get some medical treatment, but it wasn't serious, and it didn't hit the muscle. You know, just went down his leg, grazed his skin, a little bit of fat, made a nice little canal down the side of his leg. And it wasn't a super serious injury, but that happened with a really good leather holster. So you can't tell me holsters don't occasionally malfunction. And the question I would ask people is, why in the world would you risk it? Why in the world would you risk it? What possible advantage do you think exists that's going to give you so much more amazing of a draw time that may hypothetically in some 1,000,000-to-1 situation might save your life? You know, now, granted, we spend a lot of time with hypotheticals. I spend a lot of time discussing caliber discussions. The majority of us out here will never use our handgun in self-defense. We won't. We still discuss this stuff because we want to make good, educated choices, right? That's what we're doing. But when you're weighing out the pros and cons, let's assume, hypothetically, you have some small advantage on draw time. I don't see it. I don't think I can draw faster that way, but that's just me. That's me. Maybe you have amazing speed that way. I don't know. Maybe you have some advantage. In what world does the risk that you take justify it? Because if there is a malfunction of some type, there is a negligent discharge of some type. You guys see the problem there? It's pointed at both your jump and both of your femoral arteries. You understand that's fatal. That's why when people say really stupid stuff like, oh, just shoot him in the leg, why can't you shoot him in the leg? You know, this moronic stuff, because that can be fatal. If you hit someone's femoral artery directly, there's a real good chance they're going to die. There's a good chance they're going to die before the paramedics get there. That's a potentially lethal area, guys. That is just as lethal of an area to be hit at as center mass. Realistically speaking, the inside of your thigh is just as dangerous of an area to be shot as your chest cavity is. About the same possibility of killing you. You know, roughly. I'm not saying it's exactly down to the 1%, but we're in the same ballpark. That is a very much a potentially deadly area where you can bleed to death real quick. You know, how quick? It could vary a lot, but it could happen pretty fast. That's a potentially fatal area. You're walking around with your firearm pointed at a fatal area at all times and or your manhood. I don't care how tough you think you are. I don't care how manly and tough you think you are. I don't care how much you bench press. I don't care what branch of the military you served in. I don't care what steroids you use. You shoot yourself in the dick, or you shoot yourself in the femoral artery, you're not going to be very tough. You're not going to be very tough at that moment. I don't care. And I don't get it. It's completely absurd to me. Whatever minor tactical advantage some people think they're getting from it, I just can't envision the day-to-day risk that they're taking justifying it. And people need to have some common sense. There's a reason, you know, we always say don't point a loaded firearm at something that you're not willing to destroy. Now, I notice I said loaded instead of firearm because I checked this one very carefully. Remember, we racked it back, visually confirmed, put my finger in the hole, confirmed that this was not loaded before I did that, right? So let's not think that I'm disregarding that firearm thing. It's not going to ever point a firearm. Well, guys, you have to work on a firearm sometimes, right? We have to disassemble them. I very carefully safety checked that first. So in that case, I know it's not loaded. But do you think there's any world in which I think it might be loaded because that's how you're going to be carrying it? I would want to point that at my dick. Or my femoral arteries, or my face. I mean, seriously. Just use some common sense. Use some common sense here, people. This is how accidents happen. This is how accidents happen. This is how firearm people get bad names. This is how bad stuff happens right here. You know, granted, we don't have that many firearm accidental fatalities anymore. There's less than 500 a year now in a nation with over 500 million firearms. We've got a pretty decent number. I bet you, at least a couple of those accidental self-inflicted gunshot deaths, because there's just under 500, 400 something every year. I wonder if a few of them aren't from people appendix carrying. I don't care how safe you are, you still need to always factor in that little tiny probability. You know, I know people, we've tested Glocks, and Glocks have been tested over and over and over that they don't discharge it off the trigger being pulled. But you know what? The trigger does get pulled sometimes when it's in the holster, because the holster itself, something wedged in there, maybe you drop it in too fast, maybe you're panicked because you are in a self-defense situation. because that's when stuff goes bad. That is when stuff goes bad. When your adrenaline is up, that flight or flight response kicks in, and if you're not careful, any careful training or practice you've done might go out the window. You might put your finger on that trigger too quick. It can happen. It can absolutely happen. I personally just don't see the risk as being worth it. That's my viewpoint on it. That's my opinion. You know what? If you want to do that, you're free to do that. If you want to have a different opinion, you are free to have that opinion. But I can tell you right now, me personally, my own body, my own safety, that's not a risk I am ever willing to take, particularly not after I met somebody who has shot their own dick doing it. I'm just sorry, you couldn't convince me ever to even try it. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. You know, you feel free to do as you please, but I would recommend that you put some thought into it first. That's all I'm gonna say on that. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.